Sean, a very clever guy, much smarter than me, said to me many years ago, if you've got a really complicated system with lots of moving parts, what you do is you drill it all down, you exclude all the things that actually ultimately are not relevant, and you find one thing. You solve that one thing, the whole problem goes away. It's a bit trivial, but sometimes it's actually a good mental exercise. Trump appears to have done that in the Middle East. And what Trump appears to be saying is, look, there is one problem here. We take that problem out, everybody else will want to get on. That problem he thinks is Iran. And with Iran, of course, goes all the proxy terrorist groups that Iran appears to be supporting, motivating, and funding. Uh, just to build on what you were saying earlier about the style, if you want to get a good outcome in a conflict situation, here's another little clip which we dug out on what Trump is threatening to do with Iran if they don't play ball.
If I were the president, I would inform the threatening country, in this case Iran, that if you do anything to harm this person, we are going to blow your largest cities and the country itself to smithereens. We're going to blow it to smithereens. You can't do that.
I think what's interesting, again, it goes back to what Trump's trying to do. As a military guy, you're always looking, trying to look beyond the symptoms to the disease. A doctor's doing the same. Do you just treat a runny nose, or do you try and work out what's the actual problem that's causing that? Because if you don't, you end up putting a sticky plaster on the patient who's having a heart attack. It's just ridiculous. So that I think there is a great deal of benefit in doing the intellectual exercise of working out where the problem is. The challenge with that approach, though, is that this is not something new. This is something that's lasted years, in fact, decades. And the danger is that a lot of the parties involved now are all culpable to some extent or the other. And I think the danger of being too overwhelmingly take out Iran is to forget why Iran is getting involved. And part of that is because of sympathy for the Palestinians, who by a lot of measures seem to be having a bit of a hard time over the past few decades. And therefore, by dealing with Iran, you've also got to make sure that you do deal. What's a fair deal for the Palestinians? Now, I don't know what that is, but we've talked a lot about is that we don't want to just give carte blanche to Prime Minister Netanyahu to sweep all of the Palestinians out of the West Bank and Gaza. It doesn't solve the problems of the region. What it does do is take away some of the sort of more animated military action that's there. So I think it's a twofold approach, one of which is dealing with Iran, but also Trump has got to use his influence to temper Prime Minister Netanyahu. And it's been really interesting, I think, over the last few weeks. Some of the reporters think that Netanyahu's got a clear run because he's got such a good relationship with Trump. But also, I think you and I have been talking about that Trump's actually said he wants to see peace. He does not want to see the war continuing. And that's a really clear message to Netanyahu. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if, a bit like we're saying with Putin, Netanyahu's gone, I've got till the 20th of January, Inauguration Day, to try to do whatever I need to do. And then I need to be ready for this onslaught to negotiate. And at least Netanyahu can then turn around and say, I want to carry on. America's imposed, and therefore there's a bit of face saving goes on. But bluntly, in answer to your question, I absolutely welcome a focus on get beyond it. A lot of our Western politicians do not have the appetite for that, and therefore they rush around just trying to smooth the waters out. If you're going to solve it, you need some grown-ups involved, and you need to actually, it's not just about the US, it's about getting the Middle East involved as well. And that's the one thing I've not seen President Trump engage yet. I hope he does, because without their direct and equal engagement, you're not going to solve the core problems.
Yeah, it's a good point, Sean. I mean, we know from our own intelligence services that there's pretty clear evidence that Iran has got its tentacles into Western countries, certainly into the UK. I'm slightly concerned that our leadership has been a little bit mealy-mouthed about it and is almost afraid to confront the problem.